If you're a teenage child who's been diagnosed and struggling with functional neurological disorder, short for FND, have you ever had this experience where no one seems to understand what you're going through? Like maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, but you're not really sure how to ask for the help you need? Well, guess what? Learning how to speak up for yourself, aka self-advocacy, is going to be one of the most powerful things you can do to start taking control of your FND journey. So in this video, I'm going to talk about why self-advocacy is such a big deal for you, and I'm going to show you how you can do it starting today. So let's dive in. Hi, my name is Dr. Lee. I'm a pediatric health psychologist and the founder of innovative online group coaching program, Teen FND Academy. I have worked with hundreds of teens who's been struggling with FND just like you, and I've seen one too many times that this self-advocacy has been so important. I'm not saying this is the only thing you need to be doing, or that you just need to continue to explain yourself to anyone and everyone who comes across to your life. It's not that. However, this is really important so that you don't feel overwhelmed and feeling like you're in control. So, what is self-advocacy? It is really about speaking up for yourself and letting other people know what you really need. And when you have FND, that's the thing. It's important to be able to talk about your situation, not necessarily spilling your gut, but really the situation that you're in, and to communicate what helps you feel better. And I'm not saying that you have to rely on other people or other things to make you feel better, but it is really about what you can kind of tell them how they can help you. It is really also about knowing for you when to ask for that kind of help or make adjustment when things get a little too overwhelming for you. And so why this is really important? Well, being able to advocate for yourself means you don't really have to rely on others, like I mentioned, to figure everything out for you. So kind of like, it gives you the control over your health, your school life, or even your relationships. And that also includes maybe the parents who are like bombarding you with a bunch of questions and they're just assuming how you're feeling. So sometimes they might tell you how you're feeling, even though that's not really how you're feeling. Right? So when you speak up, you literally take charge of your story instead of letting FND or other people define it for you. So you don't have to suffer in silence when you speak up. And another big win for self-advocacy is this. It helps people around you understand your condition a little bit better. Now, they're not going to be able to understand exactly what you're going through. Even if I have FND right now, let's just say, my experience is mine only, so it may or may not be the same as your experience, right? So it's a little bit difficult or kind of wonky or weird for you to expect other people to completely understand you. Yep, it makes you feel lonely and alone and frustrated. I get it. And that's why I created this teen online program, Teen FND Academy, for someone like you who feels kind of drifting and alone and pretty much like a medical reject once you get the diagnosis of FND. So whether it's your friends or family, when they know what FND is for you and how it affects you specifically, then they can be a little bit more supportive. So you don't have to feel like you're constantly explaining or justifying yourself, right? So speaking of FND, how are you explaining FND diagnosis or symptom to other people? In my online program, Teen FND Academy, we start with that. We start with what FND is and how things are all related besides FND. And then at the end of the module 1, which is the first module, teens are actually learning how to explain what they have to other people in super short, small sentence. So something like this: FND is an umbrella term to describe this cross-wired problem between the brain and the body, even though your brain and body are quote unquote okay. It is a real diagnosis, even though nobody can see it. It doesn't mean that you're making things up. And sometimes I hear teens in my program explaining FND as a sort of like a communication connection issue between the brain and the body. So basically how I'm explaining things. And it is oddly common diagnosis you would get in neurology clinic. I would say oddly because you don't really know a whole lot of people who have FND just like you, right? So that's why it seems odd, but it is a common diagnosis. So how to start advocating for yourself? You don't have to start with something huge. I would say start small, baby steps. I talk about baby steps all the time. So begin by practicing how to speak up at home or in similar situations where you feel pretty safe. And if you're feeling tired, dizzy, for example, or need a break, say something like, hey, I need to take a break for like 10 minutes. Or can I get a quiet place to relax for a bit? The more you do it, the easier it gets. The condition doesn't necessarily get easier unless you are mastering the skills to deal with those symptoms at the same time. But in terms of the self-advocacy, it gets easier for you the more you practice. So that's a step one. Start small. Step two, role playing. Not a game, but kind of. It can help you to actually practice in advance. So try role-playing different situations with your parents or friend or by yourself. Doesn't matter. For example, pretend you're talking to a teacher and need to ask for accommodations or something like that. So you can say something like, this is an example, I might need to step out of class for a few minutes because I'm feeling dizzy or something like that, right? So anything that you can practice ahead of time will help you feel a little bit more comfortable with what you say and how you say and make it easier when the time comes. So if you're an athlete, you get this idea. You practice day and night and every day, and it becomes part of your muscle memory. So you don't really have to think about the thing that you're practicing. Kind of same thing here. So that's number two, role playing. Number three, talking to your doctors. I encourage this to all teens essentially in my program. When you're in a doctor's office, before you go, think about it and then make a decision. Who's going to lead the conversation? Is it you or the parent? If it has been your parents 100% of the time, I will tell you that this is the perfect time to start taking control. So here's the deal. It's really easy for you to forget what you wanted to ask or what you wanted to talk about at the doctor's visit, right? Unless you can have this incredible memory. But don't let that stop you, because make a list of questions you want to talk about or ask anything that you want to clarify, right? So just write a note and make a list, right? So that nothing really gets overlooked. So then this is another way, super simple, but for you to start taking control of your health, which is your brain and body and your life, right? So this way you take control of, again, the appointment itself, and then make sure that you're getting the right care. And if you feel like you're not getting the right care, then I would say to start talking to your parents about, hey, I'm not sure this doctor is really understanding what I'm going through. How do you feel? So you can ask that to your parents. And then if parents are, having their own opinions, you can incorporate that. You don't necessarily have to agree with everything, but this is, again, the chance to speak up for yourself, right? And then you can even ask for a doctor to clarify even further if you're like, that's kind of confusing. You know what I mean? So those are the three steps: starting small, role playing, and talking to your doctors. So kind of prepping, right? So what could possibly stop you from advocating yourself? Because these are also common things, and I want to talk about that. So then you are working ahead of time and being proactive. The most common thing that I hear from teens is this fear of being misunderstood. So what does that mean? It's absolutely totally normal, right, for you or anyone to feel nervous about speaking up, especially if you're afraid people are not going to understand what you're going through. Guess what? They're not going to be able to understand you fully unless you speak up. That's the thing. But you might also worry that they're going to think that you're making things up or overreacting. But the truth is, your feeling and experiences are valid, and then it's true, and you deserve to be heard. So do you agree that you deserve to be heard and understood, even though everyone may not be able to understand to the level that you do? So do you feel and do you believe that you deserve that? Like you deserve to be heard and understood? If the answer is yes, then it's worthy for you to learn to speak up. Because here's the deal. It's okay to feel nervous, right? But the more you practice, the easier it gets. And then guess what? If you don't speak up, what do you think is going to happen? That's right. People are going to start guessing about you, which is exactly the reason why many people misunderstand you. And I'm not saying it's your fault or this is, like you should feel shameful or anything like that. It's an opportunity, for you to speak up for yourself so that people can better understand you. The other thing that I hear a lot from teens is they feel like a burden. So many teens with FND feel like a burden to other people, and that's real. Like they're asking too much or they're always complaining. If that is how you feel, listen up. because some of you may even feel embarrassed about having FND, thinking others are not going to understand or will treat you differently. Okay, but I want you to know, advocating for yourself does not make you a burden. If you believe that, then what else can you believe? So that is the challenge for you, because it is about making sure you're getting the support you need, more so than your fear of feeling like a burden. So this fear and then feeling like a burden is real if that is how you're experiencing it. But do you want to stop there? Or your desire for people to understand you better, stronger? So that's a question. And I'm not saying right or wrong or, good or bad, as an option, right? Because people who care about you will want to understand so they can help, and they're not going to think you're a burden for speaking up. They might be frustrated and then tired to deal with the situation you're in. I don't know if that's because of you per se, and certainly I hope to believe that they're not going to think that you're a burden when especially you're speaking up. I don't know about you, but for the most part, my experience with the parents, they're actually excited when you speak up what your needs are. So the other common things that I hear from teens is they don't feel like confident, right? It's like, well, I'm not really good at advocating for myself. And this is exactly what I tell to those teens in my program. Guess what? Self-advocacy is a skill. You're not born with it. So that's why, just like any skills, it gets better more you use it and more you practice it. That's why start small, build your confidence along the way, and keep pushing yourself just a little bit every time so that you can speak up. And soon you're going to realize that you have gained more control over your health and your life. And that actually feels pretty amazing. So I have a lot of teens who experience and told me, well, I was really scared to speak up, because I was just kind of waiting for people to understand and then see me. But I realized, well, nobody's going to save me, so I just need to speak up. And so I started asking for help. Hey, I just need to take a break. Can we go slow down? I need more time. Let me take a moment here, but I'm going to come back to you. Any of these situations, parents, friends, and other people who were around these teens, they felt so ecstatic because now they can support them in a way that these teens want. So just kind of recapping, learning to advocate for yourself is one of the best things you can do to take control of your FND journey. It is about becoming your own voice, standing up for your needs, and feeling empowered to make your life a little bit easier. Like I mentioned, self-advocacy isn't going to be the only thing that you have to do to magically get rid of FND. However, this is absolutely important thing, okay? So if you want more tips on how to feel more confident, regain control so then you're not being told what to do all the time, and start building literally the resilience in your FND journey, check out Teen FND Academy. Parents might be super on board, and maybe this is a one piece that was missing from you as a teen, because you deserve so much more in your life, and I truly, truly believe that. I was struggling with a lot of conditions that are likely FND back in the day when I was a teen, and it took me decades and decades to get better. Finally, I am better, but I don't want you to experience the same thing when you don't need to. I wish I had all these skills and knowledge and practical tactics and techniques and all kinds of stuff under my belt when I was your age. So there is a chance that you can completely resolve FND. It's never too late. But what you need to do is you need to speak up. Well, leave a comment below about this self-advocacy and how you feel about this. Well, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.